Well, in the absence of that, I assume you're from the same town.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's give it another minute and see if we get any other voting members, and then in the meantime, I personally think that's fine. Maybe in the future, if there is an update to the MOU, we can specify some procedures for designating alternates and that sort of thing. But in the meantime, totally fine. We'll accept that vote for today. Looks like we've got another member on, so I think we can go ahead and get started. See, the meeting's already starting to be recorded, so I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization. Do you want to go ahead and share the agenda on the screen? Get started with welcome and introductions. I'll ask staff to read the roll call, see which members are here.
Thank you. Massachusetts Secretary of Transportation, Gina Fiandaca.
Yep, Derek Cravat here representing MassDOT Secretary and CEO Gina Fiandaca.
Jonathan Gulliver, Massachusetts Highway Administrator.
Hi, Brian Fallon representing Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Andrew Delaria, NMCOG Chair. He's not here today. Pat Wojcik, NMCOG NPO Representative.
Here.
Thank you, Pat. LRTA Board Chair, Tom Baumel. He is not here today. LRTA representative from a community outside of Lowell. That's Karen Julio. Represented by.
Ron Cohane here.
Thank you. NMCOG Counselor and NPO representative from the city of Lowell, Dan Rourke. And he is not here. Thanks. That completes the roll.
Did we have the LRTA? Did you call?
Who?
Yeah. Did you call an ally from LRTA?
Oh, Allie. Right here.
Okay. Great. All right, excellent. Welcome, everybody. We'll move on to agenda item 2, which is the approval of the May 24th Northern Middlesex NMMPO meeting minutes. Can I have a motion and second to endorse those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
That's you, Ron.
Anyone want to second the meeting minutes?
I'm more than willing to second that. This is Ron Cohane.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Motion having been made a second. Are there any comments or questions on the minutes? All right, seeing none, go ahead and call the roll.
Thank you. Do I run through the full list?
Yes, yeah, if you want to just list the voting members that are present, and then we'll vote on this. Yep.
Okay. Pat Wojcik, NMCOG NPO representative.
Aye.
And then Karen Julio, LRTA representative from a community outside of Lowell.
Aye.
Thank you.
I think you get a call on every member that's present, so it would be myself and the highway division and other members.
Derek Cravat from MassDOT.
Yes.
And then Brian Fallon representing MassDOT.
Yes.
And that's all the members here today.
Okay, is the LRTA a voting member?
No. Allie.
Okay, sorry about that. I was not clear. Okay, never mind. We'll move on to the next item, which is status report on transportation improvement program projects under design and construction. We'll turn it over to District 4.
Sorry, I did not realize I was muted. My fault. Tim Paris, District 4 Planning. We've got a number of new projects showing up on the list this month because of the recent PRC meeting. We have 613, 394 Chelmsford, Lowell, Tewksbury Interstate Pavement Preservation related work on I-495. That's about a $5.5 million project. 613, 268 Tingsboro Culvert Replacement on Westford Road. That project is just under 2 million. 613, 213 Bedford, Billerica, Chelmsford, Tingsboro Bridge Preservation of 41 bridges on the Route 3 corridor. That's a $10 million bridge preservation project. 613, 120 Tewksbury Bridge Replacement, North Street over I-495. That is a $32 million project. 613, 109 Chelmsford, Lowell Deck Replacement and Lowell Connector and multiple Lowell Connector bridges over I-495. That's nearly 12 million for that one. 612, 977 Chelmsford Vinyl Square Safety Improvements. That is just under 6 million. 612, 658 Tewksbury Bridge Preservation, I-495 route over Route 133 and Route 38. That's roughly 6 million. 612, 656 Westford Bridge Preservation, I-495 over Concord and Boston Road. That's just under 3 million. 612, 631 Chelmsford Bridge Replacement, Gorham Street over I-495 and the replacement of Westford Street over I-495. And that the total estimate is 44 million or so. It's on the 24 tip for 25 million. Scheduled on there. And then going to the next sheet, 607, 887 Lowell Rourke Bridge Replacement. That has reached 25% design. The new estimates are in with the 25%, running with a federal participating cost of 193 million. And a total contract cost of 186 million. 610, 704 Burlington, Billerica resurfacing and related work on Route 3A. That has a new add date of September 2nd of this year. 608, 774 Lowell, Tewksbury, Route 38 intersection improvements. And that has a new add date September 9th of this year. And some updated estimates with the minor updates. And that is all of the changes from last month.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Any questions for Tim? Shravanti.
So Tim, how often does the committee meet to review the projects? Is it quarterly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Tim, one more question. The right at the top of that list, you had the Tingsboro culvert. I wanted to see what the design was. I was told we were 25% design complete. Do I need to get verification of that from you? You just have it approved. I thought we had 25% design complete.
Well, that's the status of it in PINFO. So our system it just has it as approved right now.
Okay.
There could be, if the 25% design has been finished but not submitted, or if it's been submitted, but at last week when we were updating this list, if the project manager hadn't updated our database, it wouldn't have gotten on here as indicated as 25% design is submitted. So
okay, I'll verify that with our project manager.
Yeah, it may, if they've submitted it, then it's just a matter of a few days before PINFO would get updated. And
okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, just for future reference, Ron and other members, when a project state is on here, it indicates that a review's been performed and updated to that status. So it is quite possible, again, that 25%'s been achieved, but until
Sure.
reviews happened on that and been confirmed, it's gonna just stay at approved.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. Sarah, did you have any updates from District 3?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. No, I think that's, he pretty much covered the projects we have in District 3.
Okay,
Thanks.
excellent. Yep.
If you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, with that, we can move on to our next agenda item, which is open forum opportunity for public comments. Is there anyone present that would like to make a comment? All right, seeing none. Oh, Derek.
I believe congratulations are in order for City of Lowell receiving a raise grant, which was just announced this week. So congratulations to City of Lowell, and I'm sure the NPO will have more to discuss on that in future meetings for the bridges projects.
Yes, that's correct. Thanks you. Yep, and we will have to add that project to the tip at some point. So we'll keep an eye out for that in the future. But for now, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is federal fiscal year 2024 Unified Planning Work Program, proposed action to endorse. So I'll turn it over to NMCOG staff for any updates on this one.
Perfect, thank you. So we had a public comment period for the UPWP for federal fiscal year 2024. We also
Jessica, sorry, before you go into the public comments, I just wanted to say a couple things really quickly.
Sure.
Thanks. First, I want to thank Jessica for her work on this document and pulling it together, responding to a lot of the comments that we received from many different entities, including MassDOT. Also, we received comments in relationship to our Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. And a lot of that is reflected in what we are providing as the final document. And so it probably will need some adjustments in the future in response to some of the other comments that MassDOT staff gave to us, including adjustments so that we reflect some of the staffing transitions that have occurred. I am holding off on responding to things of that nature until we hire a new program manager, because I think that we're running into the last quarter of this federal fiscal year, and that new person will begin almost at the end of it. Probably all 3 of them, because there's technically 3 open positions. So I want to be clear that those comments and some of the other things that we're going to run through may not be addressed, but they will be addressed in the future, and those adjustments will be made. I'll let Jessica give the rest of the presentation, but both of us and any of us will be available to answer any questions. Thanks, Jessica. Go ahead.
Jenny.
So we did have a public meeting date on June 6th where we heard comments directly from attendees. The first 3 columns on this sheet you see are from one of the people who actually a Lowell resident who attended the meeting, but he also sent some written comments in. So, our responses to them are included in this document. And then later on, we discussed the comments from FHWA as well as MassDOT. There was a request from the president in the city of Lowell to see support a plan to inventory a regional off-road biking trail connecting the adjacent towns of Lowell, Dracut, and Chelmsford. In response to that, we added a proposed activity to task 3.6 of the UPWP. Comment number 2 was requesting NMCOG staff to take a deeper look at sidewalks with utility poles that are impediments to foot traffic, as well as wheeled mobility devices. And we've added a potential activity to our UPWP in task 3.4 and also 2.3 as a proposed activity. The last item was pertaining to the Lowell connector and reviewing the Lowell connector around Gorham Street area. And I was able to provide some resources to the city of Lowell resident that included a timeline as well as documents on the Lowell connector reconstruction project that's taking place for federal fiscal year 2028. So in this case, I just provided the resource documents to learn more about it. The second comments were for MassDOT pertaining to some formatting with the table of contents, which we responded to, verifying some links in the report to the RTP from 2020. We addressed that comment, as well as the acronym list included in the table of contents and the appendix. We were able to pull up the most recent MOU. We added that to the appendix under the guidance of MassDOT. And as far as the budget and adjusting the staff time, we're not addressing that just at the moment, as what Jenny said. We've also analyzed the remaining balances for federal fiscal year 2023. So that's on our UPWP currently. And then for number 7, I've added the public comments to the appendix per MassDOT's request. We received some additional comments from Chris Timmel at Federal Highway. Those are also included in the appendix of the document. Figure 1, he mentioned, was a little bit fuzzy. I was able to redo that, along with addressing some of the acronym shifts throughout the report. In the report, we referenced the 100% federal share for the complete streets work that's now our apportionment at the 2.5% for the UPWP for federal fiscal year. We also included in the report the apportionment table that MassDOT sent over based on our region. A change that took place since the original UPWP was shared, we had allocated funds in a task 3.12 to supplement our SS4A, that our Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. We have removed that from the UPWP. That's the most significant change since we presented the draft, is we are no longer using any of the UPWP funds to support the SS4A grant. So that comment has been addressed. There were some other comments along the lines of those, and I just included C response to number 4. So that was comment number 6, 9, and 10 from Federal Highway. We're all in reference to that. Number 7, there was a request about coordinating with MassDOT on conducting similar efforts that we have in our proposed activities. We will be doing that and continue to do that. On comment number 8, we were asked to clarify the difference between the Drake-it work that we do under our DLTA and the Drake-it work that was mentioned in task 3.11. I've added a few sentences to clarify the difference between those two projects. And then the last comment was to clarify the budget in the UPWP, display the 2.5% allocation for complete streets and how that amount would be broken up by tasks. We took the remaining balance that was originally in the 3.12 task, which was the SS4A supplemental, and added that to our bike and pedestrian task in the UPWP report. A whole list of these comments, as well as how we've addressed them, will be included in the appendix of the plan, and we plan to post the updated plan later today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. So before I open up for questions, I'll ask for a motion and a second to endorse the federal fiscal year 2024 Unified Planning Work Program.
I'll make that motion to endorse.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion having been made and seconded, are there any comments or questions for Jessica or staff? All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and call the roll, Jessica.
Derek Cravat,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Ron Cohane, representing Karen Puglio.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you, everybody, and good job on the UPWP. We'll move on to the next item, which is federal fiscal year 2023 to 2027 TIP amendment number 5. Turn it back over to NMCOG staff to walk us through the amendment.
Thank you. So presented here is the summary of the draft amendment to fiscal year 2023 and 2024 of the federal fiscal year 2023 to 2027 Northern Middlesex Transportation Improvement Program TIP. So this amendment includes the programming of the following projects. So purchase of AVL APA annunciators system for fixed route by LRTA using the 5307 and 5339 funds. And the state match will be in federal fiscal year 2024 for this program project. And the purchase of 7 replacement vans and 1 van for new service in Groton by the LRTA using the FTA section 5310 funds and matched by state mobility assistance program funds. The current and proposed funding are presented here for each of the programmed project, and this proposed amendment is to be considered for release for public comment at today's NPO meeting, and a public comment meeting will be scheduled on July 17th to receive any comments on the amendment. And comments on this amendment can also be emailed to me to the email address that is displayed on the screen, but also email to NMCOG to our office, 40 Church Street, Suite 200, Lowell, Massachusetts. So following the public comment period, the MPO will meet again next month on July 26th to hear any comments received and consider endorsement of this amendment.
Great. Thank you, Shravanti. Can I have a motion and second to release this amendment for a 21-day public comment period?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion having been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on this amendment?
I have a question about the vehicles themselves. What type of vehicles are they? Are they electric or hybrid?
They're gas vehicles. They're the cutaway type. They have like an E350 or E450 front, and then the chassis on the back side.
Okay, so they're all strictly gasoline vehicles.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Sally. Derek?
Yeah, are there 2 other action items for this amendment for replacement van type A's using 5310 carryover, or is that part of a separate action?
Those I think were from the previous, I think actually those were 2021 community transit grants, but the vehicles just were so delayed. Should they, I didn't know that they should have been part of this because they were technically added on back when that grant was awarded.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking is because the match for those projects, the records I have and received from Rail and Transit Division a couple days after this list was shared with you, Shravanti, was when these were input.
Okay.
The buses, there's basically 2 more projects for vans using old 5310 carryover money because, like Ali said, the buses weren't deliverable at the time that they were programmed. But before the funds can be obligated, I believe FTA will need to see these on an active tip. So I would make a suggestion to release release a version of this amendment that includes those 2 additional projects as well, just to cover the region's bases and make sure that those purchases are able to happen this fiscal year. Does that make sense, Ali?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So Shravanti, I can work with you on that to get the table updated. Okay.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and second to release this for public comment. Does that change this motion? Do we have to revise that at all? As far as adding anything?
You could do it now, or you could include it as comment to during the public comment period for 2 additional projects. But
Right. Okay.
might be cleanest to just adjust those in now as part of the motion. If someone wants to make that motion.
I'll make an amendment to my original motion to add those other 2 vehicles, is that what it is, 2 vehicles?
Yes, yep, thanks, Pat. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay, excellent. So, motion having been made, seconded, and now amended, are there any comments or questions on that piece? All right, seeing none, go ahead and call the roll.
Sorry, I was muted. Derek Cravat,
No problem. Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes,
Brian Cohane.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the draft coordinated public transit human services plan, released for 21-day public comment period. Turn it back over to NMMPO staff.
1 second, just switching screens.
Yeah, sounds good.
Can everyone see it?
Yeah.
So this is the presentation on our coordinated public human services transportation plan for the Northern Middlesex region. The Northern Middlesex Council of Governments is one of 13 regional planning agencies within the Commonwealth. NMCOG is a public agency governed by an 18-member policy board comprised of local, appointed and elected officials from the city of Lowell and 8 of our surrounding towns, which include Billerica, Chelmsford, Dracut, Dunstable, Pepperell, Tewksbury, Tingsboro, and Westford. Our objective is to increase the capacity of municipalities and foster regional cooperation and coordination. The NMCOG transportation team serves as the staff to the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization, a 7-member policy board tasked with carrying out the transportation planning process in our region. What is a coordinated public transit human services plan? A CPTHT is a federally required document for funding, and it aims to identify strategies to improve the quality and availability of transportation services for the disabled and elderly populations in the region. The plan must be updated every 3 to 5 years, and outreach must involve the coordination with a respective regional coordinating council, the RCC, and they act as a volunteer advisory board. The plan update should include input from representatives of senior centers, individuals with disabilities, nonprofit organizations, public and private transportation service providers, and human service providers. In 2021, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, also known as the IIJA or Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, is enacted. And IIJA continues the Section 5310 formula funds with no changes. Eligible projects include capital investments, traditional and non-traditional investments beyond the American Disabilities Act, and complementary paratransit services. 5310 funding is intended to enhance mobility for seniors and persons with disabilities, providing funds for programs that serve special needs of transit-dependent populations beyond the traditional public transit services. In order to receive 5310 funding, regions must have an updated CPT HST plan. You'll see on the map here, this is the Northern Middlesex population per square mile, and this is persons age 65 or older. So this is our senior population across our region. You can see on the map that it's very dense in the city of Lowell. We have a lot more seniors there, presumably because it's a more dense area. On the next map, you can see the disabled population within our region per square mile. And again, a lot more density in the city of Lowell. The next map displays the disabled population outside of Lowell. So for informational purposes, we removed Lowell to try to highlight some of the other areas and show the density. There's a lot of density in Dracut, probably the most in our region, besides the city of Lowell. In the next map, you can see the growth that we've experienced in the population of persons age 65 or older from the years 2011 to 2021. And based on the map, you see Pepperell has experienced the most growth of all of our communities, with Tingsboro not far behind. On this map, you'll see our environmental justice communities by town or city within our region. Lowell, of course, is home to the majority of our environmental justice communities, which makes them extremely vulnerable considering the populations of persons over 65 as well as the disabled populations. And this environmental justice criteria is set forth by the EPA. And those were the factors that we used when making this map, looking at minority, income, and also limited English proficiency. On the screen here, you'll see the LRTA ridership. And the paratransit numbers that you see in the middle is an aggregation of the Lowell Roadrunner as well as our councils on aging. You can see that the LRTA ridership has taken a slight dip in the year 2020 due to the pandemic, but there are some increases in numbers that you can see. So fixed route is on the left, and then councils on aging and the Roadrunner by year. And I should also include that the 2023 numbers include the first 3 quarters of the year, because 2023 has not ended yet. On the screen here, you'll see our actionable efforts. So these are some recommendations that came out of our coordinated plan work that we did. And starting from the top, it is assist the councils on aging with addressing driver shortages through recruitment and advertising. Conduct a study to evaluate the feasibility of a Northern Middlesex or Lowell-based shuttle to medical facilities in Boston. Attend NMCOG hosted discussions with councils on aging and municipal staff to learn and address challenges and opportunities to advance services for seniors and ADA populations supported by the LRTA. Identify and engage diverse stakeholders in RCC coordinating meetings hosted by NMCOG and Merrimack Valley. Prepare and publicize clear materials to communicate service areas, fare structures, and eligibility for ADA and paratransit services for all NMCOG communities, including a clear explanation of the differences between the services in collaboration with COAs and riders. Increase mobility services for ADA persons over the age of 65. Identify methods to eliminate transfers from COA to LRTA Roadrunner to improve rider experience. Research technology to support paratransit services for our COAs. Collaborate and communicate with adjacent regional transportation authorities to improve paratransit services. Conduct workshops and create materials on how to access transportation services in our area. Provide clear explanation and guidance for procurement on COA vehicles and contracts. Evaluate the feasibility of more on-demand trip services to address the urgent needs of clients. So rather than having a delay and having to make a reservation 24 to 48 hours, how can we get those trips accomplished maybe a little bit faster? So this list of efforts on here is actionable. I think there's some clear next steps moving forward as part of this plan and some guidance on how we can really collaborate across the region to improve our senior services. The engagement for this plan included a regional coordinating council meeting that we hosted in partnership with Merrimack Valley. We conducted a service provider survey. We also conducted visits to our senior centers in our region. And then we also had interviews with riders and the directors of the senior centers to hear firsthand how the operations are working. On the screen, you'll see the timeline for this project. So this month, we'd like to release this draft plan for public comment period. And then in the July meeting, we will address the public comments and vote for endorsement. That concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions for Jessica?
I have a question, Jessica. In reading the plan, unless I read it wrong, if somebody wants a Roadrunner service, they have to live within 3/4 of a mile of an LRTA route. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is there some logic for that?
Sorry, I'll jump in, Jessica. It's the FTA regulation. So it has to be parallel to the fixed route service, and there's that 3/4 of a mile buffer. And so they don't have to live in that area necessarily, but they do need to get there. That makes sense. So say like their local council on aging was within that range, they got transportation to the council on aging, then the Roadrunner could pick them up there. But that's the federal regulation for ADA service.
Okay, I mean, I guess I get that it's a regulation, but I don't really understand the logic to it, but that's okay.
So they have to be within 3/4 of a mile to a fixed route stop. So because the regulation, for paratransit service, it's for folks that, because of their disability, can't access the fixed route bus. So it's that regulation is essentially the minimum to have what would be, what's the word I'm looking for? Equitable service to someone that uses the fixed route. So if you lived in an area, if you were non-ADA and you live in an area that's not adjacent to a bus stop, you have to get to the bus stop to access the fixed route. So that the ADA regulation gives ADA folks a 3/4 mile buffer.
Okay,
I don't know if I'm explaining that super well.
yeah, I mean, I guess it just kind of seems like it penalizes people if they live a mile away or more.
Yeah, I mean, we always try to work as much as we can, with someone, and it's as the crow flies too. But so that helps a bit. But with some things, we can't give. It's hard to give exceptions because then you've got to give exceptions for everybody, and there's just only so much service that you can accommodate. But again, it's the same kind of logic if you look at like where you live in comparison to the fixed route.
Okay. All right, thanks for the
You've gotta be able to
explanation.
get to the bus stop.
Okay,
Thanks. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that a huge outcome of our coordinated plan work and also our regional transportation plan work is that a lot of the councils on aging were desiring more coordination among the councils. Just being able to get in the same room and sort of share best practices has been really effective. So I think having the LRTA and some other regional stakeholders at the table would be really fruitful for the conversation. So thank you.
I had a question. So one of the action items was to increase service for people under the age of 65 that had a disability. Is that because there's service provided through COAs and others for people over the age of 65? I was just curious why the cutoff was specified.
Yeah, so in some cases, there are persons with disabilities that are under the age of 65. And it's been difficult to identify, is the Council on Aging responsible or is the LRTA Roadrunner responsible? So I think clearer guidance for the riders on who they can count on for service would be really appreciated. And it's something that came to light as part of this plan.
Got it.
That was a good question.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So I believe this one is an action item, right, to release for a 21-day public comment period.
Yes.
So I'll ask for a motion and second to release this coordinated transit human services plan out for that comment period.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
All right, motion having been made and seconded, I think you can go ahead and call the roll.
Eric Cravat,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wilges,
Yes,
Ron Kahane.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone. Move on to our next agenda item, which is the 2025 to 2050 draft long-range transportation plan and vision 2050. Turn it back over to NMCOG staff.
Thank you. Hey, Jessica, would you please share the timeline? Great. So likely goes without saying that the plan has been delayed by about a month and a half. The full draft I had anticipated being completed on May 12th. As you mostly probably know, that was not provided, and we lost our program manager as of May 31st. So we've had to kind of rework our approach to getting this project done, and have really identified great solutions thanks to Jessica and Travanti for their very excellent work on getting to many sections of the document, as well as other NMCOG staff. But more is needed to be done in order to, really, I've had to apply a lot of my time and resources in order to complete this document, given where it's been at, and to prioritize this deliverable to all of you as a draft eventually. And that has included a lot of content, but also some formatting so that it's a document that is easy to read and understand. So again, thank you to Jessica and Travanti and others here on the team who stepped up and helped to move this forward. So I don't know if this work plan had been shared previously at an MPO meeting. Can anybody confirm or tell me? Have you seen this before?
I don't recall, but I could be wrong. Jessica, did you have?
To my knowledge, it has not been shared.
Okay, so we developed a work plan back in October of 2022. And I just figured I'd give you the last leg of the trip here, because that's the most interesting part, right now. So for the most interesting part, that is including the wrap up, I wanted to share with you the steps that we are planning to take to do that, so that you know what is coming, and also so that if you think there's something missing from this runway, that you let us know. So these are things that for the most part had been included in the original work plan, but I've kind of rearranged them based upon sort of the timing of things and sort of the successive weeks of progression that happens once we release things for public comment and so on. I'm sure you're very familiar with these things because they're basically fulfilling legal requirements. But given the timing of everything, it will mean, and I don't know if this is an important note, but we will need you to meet in August. The possible outcome of not meeting in August would mean that we would be wrapping this all up at the end of September and hope that everything is voted on and approved so that we then have an active plan for the next federal fiscal year, which feels very close to the deadline. So I just want to put that as a pin to come back to, because this plan that I've developed relies on you meeting in August, as well as your July meeting too. So we would need a quorum for both of those. And with that in mind, essentially by July 19th, you'll receive a full draft of this document, of course, by email, and also it'll be posted on our website. We'll begin the notification period, if you will, so that by the time we get together and I have other vehicles for promoting and advertising this, I'm open to other ones. We had hoped that we were going to go and make a presentation to the LRTA. Unfortunately, I learned this afternoon they're not meeting again until September. So the best thing that we can ask from them is written public comments and feedback to the staff. But given the timing and the way that the deadlines are now moved, that will have to be sufficient unless they choose to meet to provide something more formally with their whole entire advisory board. But with that in mind, it means that you'd have to meet again on July 28th so that we can ultimately begin to kick off the public comment period. And then it will be open for some period of time. We'll re-advertise so that we get enough time in the queue so people are aware of it. It is summertime, not exactly a great time for these sorts of activities, but again, best we can do. And ultimately, so that this all wraps up by August 21st, we will then be able to summarize everything, get it back to the MPO, present something edited to you, and replace all the documents with the final ones. And we hope that then by the 23rd of August, we will be able to submit something officially to all of our required partners, NASDOT and more. So that is what we are looking at for the completion of the LRTP, also known as Envision 2050. I'm open to your suggestions, comments, feedbacks, or blessings. Any and all will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenny. I mean, to me, this looks good. I think this seems to check all the boxes that we have as far as going through the public process and submitting. So I don't think I have anything to add. But does anyone else have any questions or feedback? All right, seeing none. So thank you for the update. Like you said, we'll plan to release this at our next meeting in July and we'll take it from there. All right, next on the agenda is Safe Streets and Roads for All update. Is this you, Jessica?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I am the Transportation Mobility Specialist at NMCOG, and I'll be leading the effort on the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. So today I'd like to provide an update on where we are in the process. In 2022, NMCOG applied for a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant with Merrimack Valley Planning Commission as the lead applicant. The application NMCOG submitted with Merrimack Valley was to develop a Northeast Massachusetts Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. An action plan aims to develop a holistic, well-defined strategy to prevent roadway fatalities and serious injuries in our region. Since the initial application, we are developing two separate plans for Merrimack Valley. So Merrimack Valley will be developing their own and NMCOG will be developing our own. And this change requires the approval from Federal Highway Association, as well as a memorandum of understanding between our agency and Merrimack Valley. We anticipate that receiving all of the documents and completing this process by August 2023. The completion of the MOU and the approval from FHWA will enable NMCOG staff to work on developing this action plan and secure the support of consultants to develop this plan. The total federal funding award was $375,233, $93,808 were MassDOT funds, for a total of $469,041. So this is all under the bipartisan infrastructure law, that is the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. And at this time, we're holding for an MOU to confirm how the funds will be split between us and Merrimack Valley, and also for the approval from FHWA. So I just wanted to provide an update on that today.
Thanks, Jessica. Any questions for Jessica? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. We can move on to our next item, which is other business. See that there's a next meeting date here of July 26th, 2023. As mentioned, we'll be looking to release the RTP then, and we'll also be taking up the amendments that were released today. So important meeting with some action items. So like Jenny mentioned, it'll be important to get a quorum. I'll just mention that registration is now open for MassDOT's annual Moving Together conference, which is taking place on October 4th this year. I just put a link to the registration in the chat. If anybody's interested in that, it'll be taking place at the Sheraton Hotel in Boston, which is different from past years. But does anyone else have any other business? Derek Schuster.
Yeah, I have a question, I believe for LRTA that is MPO related about 5339 Lono grant award that LRTA received. Does this ring a bell? Is this being amended onto the tip this year?
So I've got a call with FTA next Thursday. So I'm going to ask them how they want us to handle it, because it does include a project where, well, the project is in our fiscal year 24 and another piece of it in fiscal 26. And last time we received a grant like that, they had us obligate the funds all at once. And so we had to move the federal share of the out project into the current year to obligate the fund. So I talked to Abril this morning, and I told her I'd circle back with her once I talk to FTA.
Okay, so I do believe congratulations are also in order for LRTA for that award. That's going to help the region procure electric or low emission buses, hybrid electric, buses. So congratulations on that. I know that's a competitive program.
Thanks, Derek. Any other business? All right, seeing none, with that, I will ask for a motion and second to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right, thank you. I think we can just do a voice vote for this. So all in favor, please say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any objections? All right, everybody, thank you very much, and we'll see you.
Thank you,
back in,
everybody.
Happy 4th, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Here.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.